Welcome back to the SSAS and MDX training sessions. I think it's a session 6. So, in last class, we discussed about few dimension properties and attribute properties, and we stopped at key column and the name column. Now, let's discuss about the other few properties of the dimensions, dimension attributes, and then we will jump into creating the cubes. Before going to that, I would like to show you a couple of things. The first one is, let's create one date dimension. For example, let me go to the view. Let me see if I have any date added. If not, let me add a date. Okay. And I'm going to use this date. Let me give relationship or let me create the dimension using the date table. Click on next, use the existing table, click on next, and date. I think which one is the key column for the date? Let me see it here. There is no key column specified. Let me quickly check that. Okay, date is the key column. So now let me create the dimension real quick. Date. Okay, date is the key column and it's the name column. Click on next. And let me select few attributes from here. For example, day, month, short month, calendar year, and physically. I don't need physical. Calendar month label. Click on next and finish. Now I created a date dimension. There is a reason behind that. I'll explain you why I've created a date dimension. Now let me show you one more thing. We process the cube and the cube. I showed you how to browse the cube and see the data. There is another way which users use a lot to query or to see the data in the cube. That is using Excel. Before going to that, we added a new date dimension here, and let me add it to the cube and let me process it. Date dimension and select the relationships. Date, maybe some date should be here. Oh, there is no date here. Pretty nice. Okay. Let me process the cube. We'll discuss more. Now, how to see the data in Excel. This is very important for your debugging part, and also to discuss about few properties that we are going to discuss in this session. So I'm opening an Excel, and once the Excel is opened, you have to go to the data tab. Under the data tab, you can see from other sources, apart from the regular one, from text, from web, from access, and so on, you have another sources option. And here you have to select from analysis services. So this option will give you, will let you create to the analysis services and see the cube that you have deployed to the server. So the server name, I'll go with dot. I think it still works. And there are 3 databases. Wide World Importers is the database that we are working on. And click on next and finish. It will create a pivot table. It will ask you whether to create a pivot table report or pivot chart or only create the connection. I'll go with pivot table. Click on OK. It creates a pivot table on the right hand side. You see the cube hierarchy. You have the sales data fact table, you have customer dimension, and you have date dimension. And whatever you want, you can slice it. For example, if you select the date, it will show you all the dates. Okay. And next to that, if you want to pull the data, you can select profit. It gives the wrong data now, but this is how it looks. Okay. This is how you can connect to the analysis services from Excel, and you can slice and dice the data. And also you can add something. For example, date. Let me take out the date from here. Let me add a customer. And if I go to the customer, I give the customer name in the rows, and you can see the data is split. And I'm dragging the category into the columns, so it will split the columns wise. The not applicable, I don't see any data for that, and novelty shop has all the data. Let me select another category, let's say buying group, into the columns. Even here it's not applicable and there is no data for that, or there is some data somewhere in the middle. Unknown to not applicable is this is the sales. And rest looks, most of the other things look style, spin toys, and few customers has sales with wing tip toys. And now let's go back to the dimension attribute properties. We stopped at key column, right? Sorry, key column and the name column. I'm going to the date dimension, right click on the date, go to the properties, and here is the key column and the name column is blank, which means if the name column is blank, it will take the key column, whatever you have specified in the key column. Similarly, the value column, if you don't specify in the value column anything in the value column, it will take whatever it is there in the name column. Or you can give three different values to three different properties. Key column you can give something, and name column you can give something, and value column you can give something. Now let's see what is the use of value column. Value column drags, or value column gets some extra baggage along with the attribute. Let's say attribute, by attribute you can see what is the keys of it, what is the names, what you want to display to the user. And the value column is an extra baggage kind of thing, and it helps while you browse using some of the client tools like Excel. For example, if I select the date here in the name column, you see it has taken varchar, and I'm going to select the same date in the value column. You see the data type is still date. So what is the advantage of having the date data type instead of the varchar? All the name columns, if you see, it will be converted to the varchar data type. Okay, it will be by default varchar and all the values will be varchar. Let me try to give date and let me process it now. If you see here, the date data type is not allowed for the name column property. That is the major problem. So when I try to give the date data type for the name column, by default, it will take varchar and it will be varchar. If you try to give anything else, it will show warning or error message like this. That's the reason, that's the time where we can make use of the value column. Now, let me set this back to the varchar, which it was before, and let me try to process the dimension now. And now it is working. So there is a limitation for the name column attribute, for the name column property, that it accepts only, it won't accept date or any other data types. It takes only the varchar data type. Now let me process the whole cube to see the difference of having the value column and not having the value column when in your attributes. So let me process the cube real quick because I changed the attribute properties. So the cube is erased or deleted. Okay, the cube is processed. Where is that? Let me reconnect, or I can do refresh. Okay, this is refreshed, I think, or at least I'm assuming, or let me refresh the whole. Yeah, it's refreshed now. Let me take out this from here and buying option from here. Let me try to see what I have in the data field. One second, guys. Okay, here I got that. I had to have a hierarchy, but let me show you how I created the hierarchy and what's the impact. What will happen if you have the value column properties set and the hierarchy is created. So before going to that, let me start creating a hierarchy from the date now. First thing, the calendar hierarchy, you know how the data is hierarchical in nature. For example, it should be like year, semester, quarter, month, week, and so on. Now the attributes that we have are, we have calendar year, and we have month, and we have what you call date. So I created hierarchy at 3 levels. Now let me name this hierarchy like a calendar. That means it's the hierarchy and it has 3 levels. Now if I try to process it, this is very important error. You will be getting this error very frequently when you work on dimensions. So when I try to process it, it 99% it fails. Though the calendar, it depends on the data, how you maintain the data in your system. Though this is a normal regular hierarchical structured data, still it throws error. But fortunately here it's not throwing an error, because I modified one of the key property, that is the key columns here. I'm drunk today. So this is how it is. When you select the key column and when you select the name column for the month, and when you go to the properties of the year, you have year and year. And when you go to the date, you have date and date. And now if I process the dimension, it's gonna fail, saying that there are duplicates in the dimension table. Now, if you try to go and query the data in your system, it won't give you any duplicates. There won't be any duplicates. If you see here, it's saying that a duplicate key has been found for the month March, but actually speaking, there are no duplicates. It's hierarchical data. When it is hierarchical in data, how it shows, as I explained you about the hierarchy, it shows like this. This is your year, let's say 2017, and this is your year 2018. Under that, you will have 12 months. Some I assume these are 12. Similarly, here you will have 12 months. Here you have March. Here you have March. That doesn't mean these two March are same. This March belongs to the year 2017, whereas this March belongs to the year 2018, right? But analysis services can't find out that. Analysis services thinks that this March is same as this March, and two March values are available, one under 2017 and one under 2018. That is why it says that a duplicate key has been found. Duplicate key in the sense, for the month of March, there is one value, again one more value under a different parent. So this is the common error that you will get. So how to avoid this kind of errors? There are two ways to avoid this error. One is to handle at the database level, and another one is to handle at the dimension level. First, let's see how we can handle it at the database level. You know how, for example, let me erase the drawings. Let me go back to the data source view, where we have all the tables. Now this is your date table, and if I rename it as named query, or if I convert it as named query, I'll get all the columns selected by default. And if I execute to see the data, it gives me the data at the bottom pane. Okay, let me minimize this and let me take out this. You see here, I see the data. Now for the, if you see the month is showing as January for the year 2013, and you will see the same January for some other year 2014. So when you try to process, okay, when you try to process, what will happen is, it says that, okay, there is a December under 2013 and there is another December under 2014, and you try to create hierarchy. When you try to say, when you create a hierarchy, that means you are saying this to the server, a December will be under only one parent. It can be either 2013 or 2014 or 2015. That is what hierarchy means. So a child will have only one parent. When I say child here, and if let's say this is your hierarchy, and this is the third level of the hierarchy, this child should have one and only one parent. And similarly, this child should have one and only one parent. One parent can have multiple children like this, but one child should have one and only one parent. So in that case, if you go to December here, December is under 2013 parent, and the same December you will find under 2014 parent, and the same December you will find under 2015 parent. So what the server will understand is, okay, this guy said this guy defined a hierarchy and given me a hint that there will be no duplicates, but there are duplicates. So in this case, how you can solve that? So to solve that, there are, as I mentioned, two ways, right? The first way is to maintain in the SQL server or fix it in the SQL server. This is the month, and you have a calendar year or calendar, what is the column name? Calendar year. So instead of showing month as December or January, February, and so on, what we can do is month plus you can concatenate calendar year, right? So you know how the concatenation works in SQL. So if you concatenate these two, what will happen now? Is it going to return the data? If the calendar year is integer, then it's going to throw error saying that it cannot convert. So in that case, you have to convert this integer to varchar before you truncate it, and I'll name it as month. Now let me execute it. You see, the month has changed to January 2013 instead of January. Now, if you go for January under 2013, it will be Jan 2013. Will you find this Jan 2013 under 2014? No. Under 2014, you will have Jan 2014. Now, all the values are unique. Under 2014, there will be one and only January 2014. And under January 2014, there will be only one and only one parent, right? So I'm providing uniqueness. If I select OK, and if I process the dimension now, it should work fine. It should process successfully because there will be no duplicates, but still it's showing something. Let's see what it is. Okay, the size specified for the binding. Remember all these errors. You are going to face all these errors. It is saying that the size specified for the binding was too small, resulting in one or more column values being truncated, which means the column that I have used for the attribute month was having a specific length. Now I concatenated something else, right? So that is why it is saying it's overflowing. So let me go and see the attribute properties, and what you need to do is go here, key columns. Under the key columns, the length is 10. If you see December 2014 with space, it will be like 16 to 17 characters. At least, what is the biggest month by the number of characters? Maybe December, or anything. It can be 10, but so we can go to 16 characters here. Let me increase it to 16 characters. The same way, let me increase the data size here for the name column to the 16 characters because I'm concatenating two columns now. So let me try to process the dimension now. So I fixed two issues. One is removing the duplicates, which you'll be seeing when you work on analysis services very frequently. And another one is to solve that issue. I concatenated month and year. So that resulted in the data type overflow. So I increased the data type size so that it can accommodate both month and the year. Now it processed, and you can see the hierarchy, and the data will be hierarchical in nature. That is one way of solving the issue. What is the other way of solving the issue? To discuss that, let me go back here. Let me edit it again, and let me revert the change. I don't want to concatenate here and let the duplicates come into the system, into the cube. And you see now it's back to Jan, Feb, March instead of month plus year. I just leave it with the month. Now, let me go back to the dimension. So what it is shouting, it is saying that the month is getting duplicated. So when it says month is getting duplicated, you have to provide uniqueness to the month. To provide uniqueness to the month, what can you do? You can have a duplicate, you can have a composite primary key instead of primary key. Instead of a single column, you can have multiple columns in your key. So what is the key for this? Key column for this month. It's a month again. So this month alone, if you take, it is giving you duplicate error. So what you can do is in the key columns, you can add month along with year. So let me drag calendar year 2. Now if you see, I have two columns. This is a composite key. Composite key means multiple columns in the key column. So now, while processing while the dimension is being processed, it will take these two columns and try to get the distinct for the month. So when you drag and drop the month, what will happen is it will be like it will give you month as well as year in your MDX. It won't give you month alone because you have a composite key here. And remember, when you have a composite key here, you need to specify the name column. Earlier I mentioned that if the name column is blank, it will take the key column, but now here there are two key columns. So in this case, you have to specify. If you don't specify it, okay, then it's going to throw error saying that the name column should be defined because there are multiple key columns. So there are multiple key columns. I did this to provide uniqueness to the month attribute, and let me add and it's saying you have to add the name column. So what I want to show month, so I selected it. Now you can see the red mark is gone and it will process, and it should work fine. So let me quickly process it, and it processed successfully. Now if you can observe one thing here, this is all DBA work. You don't need to know all these things, but let me show you that. Let's see what the query it is running now. You see that I'm taking the query for the month, view details. Let me connect to my SQL Server Management Studio. It always takes time. And let me connect to my database engine. Let me take a new query on Wide World Works database, Wide World Importers. And if you execute it, you see it is getting two columns instead of one column to uniquely identify the months. So you see it's getting November 2014, October 2015, and so on, right? And if you take any other attribute which does not have two columns, let's say for example day, and if you take the query here, and if you execute it in a new query window, you will see only one column because it takes the key column, whatever you specify in the key column, and it will try to read the data and process the attribute. So this is how you can avoid the duplicate key issues when you are working on creating the hierarchies. So now we started with the value column, but we had to jump into the key columns back and key columns and the name columns again. Now you understood what is the key column and why you need to go for multiple keys in the key column. That is most frequent issue you will face when you're working on analysis services. Remember that this error you will see at least once in every project. Now let's come back to the value column. If you remember the date, okay, let's say I've not specified anything. I mentioned you the major difference is the name column doesn't accept the date fields and all, the date data types and all. It will be always varchar. So let me take out this date value column and let me process it. Let me save it and let me process the whole cube, and you can see the difference. Let me quickly process it. Okay, should not take too long. And let me go back to my Excel, refresh, and this is why the hell this. So if you process this if you don't give the value column, this value column will not be carried with your dimension. So it will be, if you don't take it, and I mean this is mainly for your MDX queries. Generally when you are working on the calculations, what it can do is, if you want to do some date related calculations, if you take this name column, it won't give you the flexibility to do some calculations based on the date. Now let me show you, but definitely I'm missing something here. Uh, we should be able to see the difference in Excel spreadsheet itself, but I'm not able to see that. Maybe I'm missing something. I'll try to get back to you on that. But let me show you where that value column will come into picture and when it will be used in MDX, at least while writing the calculations. If you go to the cube, and if you drag and if you browse any cube, or let's say I selected an MDX query window, and if I go for dimension, you see member key, member name, and you will have member value. So this member value is what you will get when you try to provide some value field over there. Member key will be your key, okay, and member name will be your name, and member value will be your value. And if you have an integer here, you cannot use it for any date calculations. It cannot be much of help, like you cannot see data, you cannot use date add or date delete or anything like that, or date difference or something like that. And name column is varchar, you cannot do such, you cannot again use this for the calculations. And value column will be date, and you can see the date over there, and that helps really. That helps with the date diff or date add. If you want to do, you can use VBA scripting and all in your MDX calculations. And while going for that, if you want the date value in your hand, then you can use this member value. That is one good example where you can use this value field, or you can use it as an extra baggage. Extra baggage in the sense, let's say you have product category and product name. Sorry, let's say product name attribute. The key column is product key and it is name. And if you want to carry some information about this product attribute, product values, then you can have it in the value column, and you can show in your calculations that, okay, this is the name, this is, instead of having multiple attributes, you can get two values from the same attribute. It's kind of a baggage, extra baggage for your attribute, and particularly mainly for the data types. And here we created the hierarchy, and if you create a hierarchy, and if you go to the Excel, you see it is showing as the date filters, and you can use these special filters to slice your data. You will not get these if you don't have the hierarchy. And particularly if it is a date hierarchy, you can get this information. Like for example, tomorrow, you can easily see what is tomorrow here. And if you select between, or if you select last month, it will have, if it will give you if there is anything that relates to the last month data. You see there is no last month data. At least let me see for the last year filter, or last but 1 year. Last year, no, we have only data from, see, it takes, this is the date, and it compares with your current date, and all these filters will be applied by default. While doing analysis, if you want to see last month data, instead of selecting the months here, you can directly go here and select whatever the last month or previous month or the next month or the last year and so on. But it is very limited, and it's only for your Excel, and you cannot get this as is in your browser, or SQL Server analysis, SSMS browser or any other tools. This is strict. This is only for your Excel stuff. Now we have seen few properties. The main thing is key column. How to provide the distinct for the, by using the composite key in the key column. Now, if you go back to the same the properties here, which we did not discuss, because we have to discuss about the key column and the name column before going to that. That is attribute, order by attribute. If you see order by property, it has 4 options. One is key, one is name, one is attribute key, and one is attribute name. Okay. Now let me, by default it is key, which means it will go here and it will take the key and it will order by this key, whatever it is key here. So it will order by this. And the second one is name. Whatever you have specified in the name, it will order by this. What is the difference between these two? If you see here, let's say for example you have months 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 months. The months, the integer, if you go by key, it will sort in the Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August. If you go by name, it will sort in the textual order, like August will come first, or maybe April will come first, and then August will come second, and so on. So while if you have the month, a proper month, then you can easily see an example here. We have calendar month number. Let's see what data we have in the calendar month number, and we can see an example for this. Calendar month number, it has 1 to 10, so this will not work. Okay, let me try this. So I'm making some changes to the calendar month, and I'm naming it as calendar month instead of calendar month number. And you know the key column is month number, and I'm giving month name as the name column for it. Okay, now whenever I drag this calendar month, what will be displayed to the user? The name column, the month will be displayed, but the key column, that is month number, will be used for all the querying purposes. Let me quickly process it. And you remember the order by is set to the key, right? So the key here is the month number, which should be 1 to 12, and it should be showing in the same order. So let me go here, reconnect it, and it should show the first the month number, month names instead of, and it is in Jan, Feb, March, April, because the order by is set to the key, and the key here is the numbers, the integer fields of the month. 1 means Jan, 2 means Feb, and so on. Now, if I go back to the same property, and where is that? If I select the name, so it will try to order this attribute by the name column. The name column is month. Let's see what kind of how the data will be shown when we process the dimension again by changing the property value to the name. So let me run it. And if I go to the browser, let me reconnect. And you see the months are ordered in a by the name, by the textual values of the month names. So that is the property ordered by key and name. There is one more. There are two more options for the same. What are those two options? Order by attribute name, attribute key, and attribute name. When you select this, you can specify an attribute and another attribute to order this particular attribute. That sounds funny, right? So here, let's say I selected our attribute key, then you have to give the second value here, because I'm telling the attribute key, and if you don't specify any attribute key, you see already there is a red mark here saying that there are build errors. The ordering criteria is set to attribute key, but the ordering attribute is not set. So I have to specify based on what attribute you want me to process or load the data. Now I can select any other attribute, but it's not showing any attributes. So what is the reason here? Can you guess? I'm trying to give another attribute key, but it is not showing any attribute keys here. So to show anything in the attribute key, there is one criteria. The criteria is the calendar month or whatever. It should be related to at least one attribute, whatever you want to show here. For example, new relationship. I want to give calendar month to, let's say, month. It will create a new relationship now. But the ordering attribute, one second. Let me set the new relationship here. Flexible, may change over time. And date should be going here. And I have added two relationships here. One is for the calendar month to day and calendar month to short month, just by using the new attribute relationship. And now if I go here and if I try to set the property, where is that, calendar month and order by, and you can see these are coming now. So to provide an order by attribute, it should have relationship. Before giving any relationship, keep in mind, for ordering by an attribute, it should have relationship. For example, before giving any, let's say these three are the newly created ones, right? Let me delete all the three, and all the three will fall into the oops, sorry. I'm reverting the changes to show you uh, the actual criteria. So this day and this short month and this month. So earlier it was like this. There is no direct relationship to calendar month for any attribute in the dimension, right? This itself is dependent on date. But remember, to use as a sort by or order by an attribute, you need to have a relationship to the attribute there, for which you are providing to at least any one attribute. In this case, let's say I just want to give a relationship. I want to separate it first. I want to give a relationship between calendar month and let's say day number or day. For that, what I've done is I've taken the relationship. I've selected calendar month and I've selected what is that? I selected short month, right? Short month. And if I selected OK, this has been separated from here because this has its own child now, or own relationship now. This is how analysis service defines a relationship. By default, everything will be dependent on the key attribute. Now it is separating. The reason is this has a relationship to one of the attribute. If you don't have this relationship between the calendar month and short month, then these two will be directly sitting in the in the tummy of the date. So that means these two are directly related. Now this is related to calendar month and calendar month is related to short date. So that's how the relation will be treated. Here this is related to month and month is related to the calendar year. Okay. So if I go to the property now, order by, for the calendar month, there is an attribute shown which is directly related to the calendar month. You can select this and this attribute will be ordered by the short month name, whatever it is. Whatever you have given, whatever the values that are there in the short month, it will be ordered by that. So this is the rarest of the rare case scenario where you need to order by the other attribute than whatever it is there in the key and the name. Now I processed it and I'll go and let me browse it and see what kind of data. It is coming as April, August. The reason is this is ordering by the short month. Let's see what values we have in the short month. Short month has April, August. This is the textual data. So it is ordering in the same order by the attribute short month. That's the reason you are seeing that. Now, and this particular attribute relationships are very key. At any cost, every attribute that you have in this pane should be related to your key attribute, whether it's directly or indirectly. If you take calendar here, if you take calendar year here, this is going to the key dimension through month. Similarly, short month is going through month to the date. Similarly, date number is directly related and month is also directly related. So if you see, at any cost, every attribute should be related to the key either directly or indirectly. If there is no relationship, then it looks like this. Let me show you that. Let's say, for example, I deleted this relationship. It looks like this. It will be separated and it starts saying, and if you try to process it, it says that there are few attributes which are not related to the, which are directly or indirectly related to the key attribute. So keep in mind, for cube to be processed successfully, you need to have all the attributes related to the key attribute. Let me drag it here. Now it should be good. So now we understood what is order by and how can you do order by. So for this, there is only one relationship, and that is why it is showing only short month in the order by name. What will happen if I try to give order by for the date? How many attributes will be shown here? For example, if I go to the properties, instead of key, if I select by attribute key of a different attribute, then it will show whatever it has direct relationship here in this case. If you see calendar month label, day, month, and day number are directly related, so it is showing those 5 to order by. Similarly, the attribute name, order by attribute name means whatever attribute you are selecting here. Let's say if I select calendar month, it will take the calendar month and it will go here and it will take the name column of it, and it will be ordered by the name column of the calendar month. So that is how it orders. Now if you go by month, all the all the April should come first, all the the August should come second for the date, right? Let's quickly process and see how the date generally it comes like 1 to 31 days for the month and so on, right? Now let's see how it processes, because I asked the server to process to order it by another attribute name column, which is month. Definitely should not be in the ascending order of the dates. So where is our date? And let me try to reconnect. And you see 2013 April is coming first, and somewhere after April you should get August. You're getting August. So it is ordering the values by the name column, which is month of the attribute calendar month or month, whatever we selected. So this is order by, and this is the key column and the name column. Any questions here, guys? These are very important properties, but order by attribute key and order by attribute name are rarely used. In general, people use order by key, and few cases people use order by name. And most common question or most common challenge that you'll get is like if how to show the months in ascending order. By default, you drag a month and it will be like August, April, August, Feb, and so on. But people want to see it in the calendar month or Jan, Feb, March, and so on. In that case, you can use the key column and the name column, two different values. Key column representing, having the month names, month numbers, whereas name column month names, and using the order by key in your order by property. Okay, guys, see you in the next class. Thank you so much for joining today.